Self-doubt can strike just about anyone. Failures can happen to all of us. Our motivation can dip and we can find ourselves in a corner fairly easily. And in that scenario, what happens? We start thinking and feeling negative things about ourselves. And these are all based on negative worth and negative self-evaluation. Or, as we say, the negative beliefs that we have about ourselves or about outcomes or about our ability to influence the outcomes of our life. And then what happens? With those negative beliefs, we choose negative thoughts. From the negative thoughts, we have negative actions. From those negative actions, we get negative results. And from those negative results come a self-reinforcing cycle where we say, oh, what I believed about myself was really true. And there's way little that one can do than to escape this trap. And the more you stay in that trap, the more you get sucked in, and it is self-reinforcing and a downward spiral. So what do you do if you find yourself stuck in this trap? And especially stuck in this trap because that's what happens to a lot of us in modern life. Expectations of self, expectations of family, challenging relationship, challenging workplaces, projects, stakeholders, tons of it can influence and create low self-esteem. Stay with me as I share with you 10 sequential questions that you can sit down and answer for yourself, especially if you don't have help at hand from a coach, mentor, a spiritual guide, or someone who can walk you through that challenging phase. I will also flash these questions on the screen so that you can write them down in pretty much the same words that I'm using. So, to begin with, if you find yourself in a place of low self-esteem, if you're finding that you are low on confidence, low on self-worth, here is the first question that I will invite you to reflect upon. And reflection here is about you writing a detailed response about this. Do not sit and just brood over this question. Write. My invitation is write so that everything that you're thinking becomes very clear. And this is where you begin. The first question: what specific negative beliefs do I hold about myself, and where did these come from? This first question is going to open your awareness about your core belief systems and the origin of where it came from. Many times we come to believe something without really assessing the worth of what that thought stood for. Maybe there is an experience that we had in life. Maybe there is a reaction that we did and something worked and something did not work. Maybe there was a challenging phase or a result that we did not like. And at that point in time, you spoke to yourself, and that language was where that belief came from. So you could have said, oh my God, I can't handle something as simple. Or somebody could have said to you, you are really not good at this. Or somebody could have said, oh, what a failure. Or there's somebody else who could have come and given us our pity about, oh my God, you failed again, or any of these kind of things. And suddenly in that moment, whether it was our own evaluation of ourselves, somebody else's evaluation of us, or someone just sympathizing with us and saying something which we felt was really not positive. In any of these scenarios, in any of these life scenarios, which can be very common for all of us, that negative belief would have started. So I encourage you to go back and answer this question: what specific negative beliefs that I hold about myself, and where did they come from? Whether it is a belief of not being good enough, or the fear of being alone, or saying, what will I do? How will I cope with this? Who will come to help me? Oh, I don't have support. Oh my God, I've done so much, but what am I getting in return? Why me? Why now? Why this? It could be any of those beliefs or questions that are running in your mind. Sit down and write those, especially if it is driving you at this point in time. There could be some of your negative beliefs that are not driving you currently. They may drive you at some point in time. Make a separate list of that so that you can deal with that separately. Right now, whatever is bothering you with life, sit down and do that. And if you're watching this video and nothing is bothering you at this point in time, you just want to work on self-improvement, then you might as well put down a list of all your negative beliefs that you've experienced at any given point in time, so that by the end of these 10 questions, you can choose to work with and overcome each of those negative beliefs. Once you have answered the first question, here is the second question that you should ask. What evidence truly supports this belief and what evidence challenges them? And this is where we start looking for facts, and we separate facts from our perceptions and any false narratives that we have. Remember, if you want to overcome your negative beliefs, you have to replace your narratives. And if you have to replace the narratives in your head, which is the stories that we tell ourselves, we need evidence, we need facts, we need examples. Now, these examples don't necessarily have to be from our own life. They can be taken from others. They can be taken from inspirational characters. They can be taken from people who have overcome similar issues from from their life, or having faced these kind of challenges and helped somebody else overcome those challenges in their life. There are people who look at motivational stories and say, wow, there is some evidence. Or there are people who could read some news and say, hey, that's something that I need to learn from. Or you could reach out for a great movie, or sit down and have a lovely conversation, and then challenge yourself with what is the evidence that supports your belief and what's the evidence that challenges them. More than the beliefs that support your negative beliefs, or more than the evidence that supports your negative beliefs, we need stories, motivations that will challenge them. And I'm sure for each one of your negative beliefs, you'll find enough and more examples out there. Once you have done this work and written it down again, and I'm stressing that, write these things down, let's go to the third question. The third question that you ask yourself is, what benefits am I deriving by continuing with these beliefs and narratives? Many times in life, and not many times, it's almost always in life, our bad behaviors are coming from a place of us benefiting or self-preserving. There is something, whether you are hiding something, or you are lying, or you are doing something as shortcuts, whatever that bad behavior might be, it has some hidden payoff. You are either avoiding risks, or you are avoiding responsibility, or you are avoiding being vulnerable, or you are avoiding being at the brunt of the situation and paying for some mistake that you might make, and it might be a fictitious belief that you carry. In any of these situations, it's very important for you to understand, why are you continuing with this? And especially if your evidence has told you that there is no reason for you to continue, why are you doing this? You felt scared as a child. Why are you still scared? You had some challenges speaking on the stage as a child. Why are you still doing that? Why are you still scared of giving presentations? You had one relationship failure. Why are you again thinking that you will fail in another relationship? So what's your payoff? You will have to look for that. And usually there is a mental benefit or an emotional benefit that you're receiving, some notion of control, some notion of safety, some notion of comfort that you're relying on when you are continuing with your old beliefs. Find them, write them down. Once you have done that, then you go to the fourth question, and that for you is, who is benefiting by my continuing with these beliefs and narratives? And many times you would see that when you feel in a certain way, let's say you say that I am not feeling good enough, you are putting others on a pedestal and giving them importance, making them feel importance. Yes, we do that in low self-esteem. When you say, oh, I can't lead, I am a good follower, then you are possibly putting yourself in second rung and putting somebody out there as a leader and listening to them and following through. When you say, oh my God, I don't want to be alone, then you may be allowing somebody to have power over you and help, and making you continue to, be in a subservient position. And that then creates that bond between you and the other person, because that person has control. So there are so many such things that happen where external influences, peers, family, bosses, society, they have a power over you. And you continue in that self-doubt, and others benefit because of you. You give them a position of power, superiority, control over you. And that makes you feel safe, because in return, again, you get another payoff. So not only do you choose things for your own payoff, but you have others benefit from your beliefs, and then get an additional payoff because of that, or a reinforcing payoff of the payoff that we discussed in question number 3. Sit down, write down, reflect, ask yourselves, who is benefiting by my continuing with these beliefs and narratives? Now, once you've done that, go to question number 5. What external validation am I making necessary for staying stuck like this? And there are many times we say, oh, I don't have any support. Or when the time comes, if at all I got an opportunity, if at all I got a mentor, when times change. And there are so many such things that we say, unless that happens, I cannot change. Unless I get this, I cannot change. So endlessly, for most of us, the validation then becomes that if I get this, then I will feel like this, and then I will do this. That possibly is one of the biggest ways that we put a roadblock for our own progress. Ideally, we should be thinking exactly the other way around. This is how I am going to feel on the inside, and this is what I will do, and then I might get this result. So choose a positive feeling, positive action, and a positive outcome. That is the right way to approach. However, what we do is exactly the other way around. Say that unless this happens, which means we set a precondition for ourselves to change, then we say, if I get this, then I will feel like this, and then I will have the energy to do this. And that's where we stay stuck. So again, ask this question: what external validation am I making necessary for staying stuck? So that you can shift your focus from external dependency on others, chance, situation, etc., or an approval, so that you can change your inner world. Once you've done this, once you've written down this answer, go to the 6th question and ask yourselves this: how have these beliefs and validations limited my actions, choices, and relationships so far? And this is where you'll start understanding how badly you have pushed yourself into a corner, that you really need to create a sense of urgency so that you do not put any more of your time, energy, effort, and your own destiny into those negative beliefs and negative outcomes that you're sitting with. We all deserve a better us. Whether that better us translates to a better life or not is a matter of life and chance, and that's between you and your God. But you can definitely become a better version of yourself. And invariably, it is seen in life that once we become a better version of ourselves, our life changes one way or the other. It may not change exactly in the same way that we expected it to, but it definitely does change. So do sit down and ask this question: how have these beliefs and validations limited my actions and choices and relationships so far, so that you can see the damage that you're doing to yourself, and you can choose to become a better version of yourself. This one is going to be important for you to write down. Then the next question that you need to ask is a self-assessment of yourself. So what strengths, qualities, or past successes show me that I am more capable than my limiting stories? And indeed, each one of us would have done something in academics, in relationships, with sports, music, dance, or just some strange occasions with people, with travel. Somewhere or the other, we have always shown strengths in life. There is some teeny little evidence that is staying there, no matter how insignificant it is. If we have to dig into our own self, and if we have to create change for ourselves, it's very important for us to define what our strengths are. Remember, we can only face our own demons with our own strengths. No matter who's guiding us, who's helping us, who's working with us, we have to face our own life. And the only way we can face our life is by knowing our own strengths. That's why it's important for you to answer: what strengths, qualities, or past successes show me I am more capable than my limiting stories? Work on this so that you can get some self-affirming live evidence of your life and not just some wishful thinking about change. Once you have deliberated on this and got the answer, written down the answer, go to the 8th question. And that for you is: what will it take for me to update my thinking with my intentions and values and act towards changing? And this is the time that you ask for yourself what you need to be aware of. How are you going to move from knowing to doing? When are you going to do it? And that's the decisions that you are going to make. Many times, what does it take? All it takes is for you to sit down, because the only other thing is life giving you a shock. So you have only two choices of what will it take for you to update. One is, now here I will do it for myself, or I will wait for life to give me a rude shock and negative results. I don't think any one of us wants to choose the second option, that life gives us a rude shock. It's only going to be, let me sit down now and do this for myself. So make that choice, put down what you are going to do, what are the values that you're going to come at it by, and how are you going to approach this change. Now comes the ninth question, which is a very critical one. If I lived by my values instead of my fears, what would I start doing differently today? And this question invites you immediately to have value-based behaviors. Now, here is a caveat in this question, the ninth question. Many times, we have not done value clarification for our own selves, which means we have not defined whether we like to live our life fully with honesty, or with integrity, or with compassion, or with mutuality, or with achievement focus. And typically, there are two kinds of values that we need to choose and be clear of in life. Humanistic values like compassion, respect, dignity, etc., and performance-oriented values like excellence, achievement, growth, progression, these kind of things. So think about what are some of those values that you would want in your life, both from a humanistic and performance perspective. You don't need to have a lot, just choose one or two. Like on the humanistic side, you may want to say self-respect and dignity. On the other side, for others, you could say compassion and respect. You could also say contribution for others. Usually those three values are more than enough for any one of us to live in a very humanistic way. On the other side, when it comes to achievement, you could simply choose elements like growth, excellence, and progression. These are certain things that will help you be where you are and move to where you want to be. So choose very clearly. And like I said, if you don't know what values you want to live by, make a clear choice of what are the values first, and then you say, if I lived by my values instead of my fears, what would I start doing differently today? So write down very clearly the value-oriented behaviors, and if you don't know what your values are, first clarify those values and then answer this question. And then comes the last and final question, which will prepare you to get going. How will I practice self-compassion and accountability to sustain this new way of being? So once you have an elaborate answer to question number 9, question number 10 is simply making a commitment to your own self of how you will stay focused on your path of reinforcement and growth so that you can do what you decided to do. In fact, at question 10, what you're in fact telling yourself very clearly is how you will not return to your old beliefs, negative beliefs, how some of that earlier narrative is no more important for you. But what is important is those words that we used in the question, which is compassion towards our own self and accountability for our own growth. And that's where you take the oath of moving forward. So stay with these 10 questions, go sequentially. Even if you have to take a day or a few days or a week to answer each of these questions, answer all of them. And I'm sure by the end of this, you will have absolute clarity. Some of you would like to rush through these and finish it in one go. Some of you would like to take your time. All the approaches are absolutely wonderful. They are your approaches which fit your life. But here is something that I would invite you to do. Keep these 10 questions with you. Go over them again and again. And even for one area of your life, even if you've answered all the 10 questions, go back and revisit all the 10 questions up until you're very clear that you have looked at each of these questions exhaustively so that you can cement that change for yourself. I wish you the very best of working with these 10 questions. I wish you a clear, clean approach of moving from low self-worth to a world of confidence and self-worth. May you become the best version of yourself.